everybody, this is Jason Brewer with Blastmaster Surface Restoration, the premier log home restoration company in Western Pennsylvania and the surrounding areas. Today I want to talk to you about something that often comes up in regards to log homes, and that's caulking and chinking. A lot of people have questions as to what it is or what that means and when to use it, such as that. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Modern log home caulking and chinking are basically the same thing anymore. They're both elastomeric. They're both made to stretch with the logs as they move. The biggest difference is we usually use caulking on gaps that are, say, a ½ inch or less, and then whenever we get to larger gaps, we would use a chinking because they're made to handle larger gaps. Now, in old school log homes like the 1800 style, you'd see large chinking, like 6, 8, maybe even 10 inches tall in between the logs. Well, that was just a filler used to keep the wind out, to keep animals out, to keep everything out of the house. Because once you laid logs on top of one another, you had to do something to fill that gap. Well, they'd often use mud, straw, old pieces of material, whatever they had to fill that gap. As time went on, a lot of people switched over to using cement or mortar to fill that. But cement and mortar tend to crack and eventually fall out as well. So nowadays, what we typically use is the elastomeric type of chinking, as I mentioned. Most log home experts would tell you that you should caulk between each course of logs after a log home has reached 10 years of age, because at that point it's done shrinking, moving, etc. In my opinion, that's kind of up to you. If your house seems to be drafty, if you feel air coming in, maybe you're seeing some light coming through in between logs, and absolutely it's a good idea to caulk in between them. On the other hand, if your house is built tight and you don't really have a whole lot of movement or anything, maybe you don't need the caulk in between each and every course of logs. Still, there is the idea of caulking the checks, and we do recommend that, but only under a certain paradigms. And that is, we only recommend that you caulk checks that are on the top half of the log where water could flow down into it in the course of a rain. We also recommend only caulking checks that are a ¼ inch or larger, because smaller checks, if you try to fill them with caulk, the caulk doesn't have enough room to stretch. So then if it does start to stretch, it's going to pop. Then moisture can get down in there. Now the caulk's actually acting as a barrier to hold moisture in rather than keeping moisture out. So those are just a few tips when it comes to caulking both the gaps in between and the checks in the logs as well. Finally, it's very important to always use a high quality log home caulk, as it's designed to stretch and move with the logs. A lot of people I've seen over the years have used things like tub and tile caulk. They get the idea that, hey, it's clear, so it won't be visible on the log home. Unfortunately, clear caulks and tub and tile caulks aren't meant to hold up to the UV of the sun, and so they usually fail pretty quickly. Not the best thing on a log home. Same thing with window and door caulk. They're not made to stretch the same as the log home caulks are. So make sure you're using a good high quality log home caulk, and only caulk as needed. The last thing I see people do a lot of times is they get a caulk gun in their hand and they just want to caulk everything. We recommend being particular about that. Don't caulk everything, because you can end up really overdoing it a lot of times and causing more trouble than it's worth. If you feel this has been helpful, please consider subscribing to our channel to learn more about how to maintain your log home. We appreciate your time. We want to help keep your log home looking great for years to come. Have a great day.